Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to my next blog post. My name is Alan Shisco. I'm a motion graphics artist out of Toronto, Canada, where I service the world. Today we're going to take a look at, this is harkening back to my early days, actually. I'm going to take a look at, excuse me, a project that I did a number of years ago. If you click on the link in the on the actual blog post, you can see what what it actually looked like. I've had a couple of people take an interest in that particular look, so I thought that it would be fun to sort of go through it and do it from stem to stern as a blog post. And as it works out, it's fairly simple in terms of its execution and everything. And it's made even easier now because of some new technology. There's a plugin that you can get for 3D Studio Max called max2ae, which really simplifies the process a lot and lets you do some really cool stuff. So that's going to be integral to what we're working on today. Max2ae, which is from boomerlabs.com. Let me actually just go back. Boomerlabs.com. There we go. And the plugin that we're going to be working with here is called, where are we here? Max2ae. Yeah, I could have got this ready, but I didn't. Max2ae. Okay, so let's get right to it here. So what I have here is I've got a 3D Studio Max scene that I've set up just in terms of the cameras and lights and everything. What I did is put a bunch of lights in the scene, and it'll become apparent as I go on with the project exactly why there are all these lights and everything. I've got a couple of dummies that are in there. You can see them right there and right there and right there. And I've parented some of these lights to these dummies. You see what happens is I give it a little bit of a spin. Watch here, see what happens, which way these rotate, and watch what happens with the lights. Yeah, okay, there you go. So basically, I've parented a bunch of lights to the dummies, and the dummies rotate, and so do the lights. Now, the reason that I do that is because, I mean, it's easy enough to set up a bunch of lights and stick them floating in space there, and people can light stuff. But I usually like to make my lights move. I usually like to get everything moving in my scene, just because it gives a lot more visual interest to the scene as a whole. And specifically, there's going to be shadows in this scene. So if the light is moving and the shadow is moving, well, that just looks a little bit cooler than if it's just sort of sitting there like a shadow. All right, so let's get started here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my Create tab, and I'm going to select Plane, and I'm going to go to my top viewport and just sort of click and drag a great big plane, sort of like that. I'm going to take it and drag it right into the middle. Zoom, and what I want, yeah, that's probably, I'm going to lower that down just a little bit. I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to select just the plane. If you hit the space bar, watch what happens down here. That locks your selection, so now I don't have to worry when I'm clicking that I'm going to be moving some other stuff out of the way. All right, so I'm just going to move that down a little ways. Well, how about right about there? That'll probably do the trick. It's going to go through here. Yeah, maybe I'll move it down just a little bit more. Good. Okay, so we've got that. Next thing I'm going to do, what this is going to be, by the way, is it's going to be a ground. So there we go. I just typed ground there to rename the object. I find in my naming conventions as I go forth that it's pretty handy to use actual words instead of leaving it as plane 01. Well, if you got a bunch of planes in your scene, you're not going to know which one you want to select. If you hit the H key and you bring up your select objects thing, then you can just select exactly what it is that you want. Okay. So next thing that I'm going to do, back to the object creation here, I'm going to go to, not standard primitives, I'm going to go over to this one right here, extended primitives. And there's this neat thing here called Chamfer Box. I'm going to select that. Now click on and play around with it, and you'll find out that you just sort of click and drag, sort of like that. Where are we here? And you can do the chamfer. Now, I couldn't really see that because it's sort of out of the way, but let me hit the space bar just to lock that and move that in the way. And you can see that if we go here, we've basically got a box with, I'm just going to hit the Z key to zoom into it, a box with rounded edges to it, okay? So once you enter it and you go to the Modify tab, which is right up here, then you can quickly change all the parameters that you had entered there. I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller like that, maybe make that a little bit bigger, and change the fillet just so that it's not quite that there, just sort of like that. Now, so I'm going to use that, and I'm going to shimmy that over here, and let's see. You know what? I think I'm going to move that down a little bit more too. I want to make sure that it's pretty close to my floor there, and you'll see why I'm doing that in just a second. Okay. So there's my box. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to change the name of Chamfer Box to Box 01. again, I was saying that in my naming conventions, I like to make things that are very descriptive. I guess Chamfer Box is pretty descriptive as well, but I'm going to change it to Box 01. But in this case, having the 01 is really important, and I'll show you why. Usually when I create objects here, or even in After Effects, I guess, I usually append them with a 01 to begin with, because when you duplicate them, I'm just going to hold down the Shift key and click on the box, and it brings up the clone options. I think you can also do that by clicking Edit, Clone, Edit Clone, or Control V. But I find that when you've got your Move tool, just hold down your Shift key and click on it. That's the quickest way to bring up clones. I'm going to make this as a copy, not an instance or a reference, and you can see it automatically names box 02. There you go. So I'm going to know that it's still a box because it's going to be similar to what I created, but it's the second one. So if I wanted to, I could do a number of copies here, but I'm just going to hit OK there, hit my space bar so it's locked, and I'm going to shimmy that over this way a little bit, over this way, go to my Modify tab, and maybe just play around with this a titch. Kind of move that just like that. Sure, why not? I'm going to duplicate another one and move this over here, kind of like that. And I'm going to make that one. Well, let's make that a little bit higher. And we'll make it nice and skinny though. W. Let's see, zoom. There we go, sort of like that. So we start off here and we kind of shimmy in like that. Oh, I gotta reposition these because these are totally not where I want them to be. All right, zoom out. So I'm gonna hit the H key and select my boxes. Hit select. When you've got objects selected, hit the Z key, and that's a really quick way to zoom in on just those objects right there. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and move this space bar over there, sort of like that. And then I'm gonna take this one. And oh, I've got multiple selected. Sorry about that. There we go. There we go. And I'm going to hit the space bar so I can lock it because I'm going to click and drag right there. Good. And then I'll move this one into position a little bit closer in, sort of like that. And down. Good. All right. So there we go. That's a little bit more what I want to do here. You know what? This one is too huge. I'm just going to modify this a little ways. Yeah, we'll just do a nice small one like that and shimmy it out of the way there. Good. So now when the camera comes in, it does a nice move like that. Reposition this just a little bit right there. Good. All right, and actually, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be mapping some footage on here. So you want to have the same approximate aspect ratio here as your footage. And this one is not, so I'm actually going to make that, about something like that. Okay. So now we come shimmying in. Nice, that's exactly what I wanted. Okay. So let's bring up the materials then. Hit the M key in your keyboard and it brings up the Max Material Editor. Now I've already created some materials here. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to create them from scratch just so you can see what I'm doing. So the first object here, what I'm going to do is click on the ambient swatch. I'm going to make this white, just like that. The next thing I'm going to do is go down to Maps, and in this case, this is going to be the material for my floor. Now I want my floor to reflect whatever it is that's above it. So I'm going to click on Reflection here, and I'm going to open up the what kind of reflection I want it to be. And in this case, I want it to be a ray trace material. Just plain old ray trace. I'm just going to select that. I'm not going to change anything else. Now, there's a bunch of ways that you can apply this material to your objects. You can select the object. Come on, select. Hit the H key. Select ground. And then you can push this little button right here, which is the Assign Material to Selection button. Or you can just click on it. Try this. Drag it over. And if you hang it over things, just still holding your mouse button, you can see that it tells you what it is that you're pointed at. Look, there's box 3, box 2. In this case, I want to apply it to the ground. So just click and drag it over. All right, so that's that material. Actually, that's finitoed. Let's go over to the next material here, and this is going to be, we're just going to leave the color like that for now. We're going to open up the map, however, and we're going to, this time we don't want to necessarily do reflection. You could do reflection too if you wanted to, but the important thing for this one is that we want refraction. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to my little, I don't even know what this is called. I don't know, map button we'll call it, I guess. Open that up, and again, I'm going to choose Ray Trace. There we go. Now, there is a change that I want to do to this one, okay? I want to open up the basic material extensions here, and in this case, I want to give this a tint, okay? I'm going to click this. I'm going to sort of try to get as close. Oh, turn it on. I'm going to sort of try and get it as close as I can to the QuickTime clip that you would have seen on the blog post. I think it was kind of like, yeah, it was sort of that color, wasn't it? It was kind of an aqua type thing. Maybe kind of bring up there. Okay, just like that. And we'll go back here. Go up here, and I want to play around with the specular level and the glossiness at this point. Okay, so I want to bring the specular level up, change the glossiness, make it a little skinnier, a little more gloss. Just play around with it until you get something that you like. Okay, let's just pretend that's it. Now, again, I'm just going to click over, drag it, drop it onto box number 2, that box right there, whatever it was. Going to click over here, and I'll put it onto my final box. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. Maybe I'll just close that right there. Got something that looks like just a bunch of white boxes. You know what? Just for kicks so that we can see a little bit of refraction action going on here. I'm going to click this one and move it just behind there a little bit. All right, so I'm going to hit the F9 key. That's the way I always do a frame render, like a preview render. I think it's sort of over here. You can't off the screen here where you have the render scene thing, but let's hit the F9 key and see what happens. There you go. There's a box. Oh, there's the tint color that we put in there. Nice reflections. There's the white floor. Reflections on the floor. Good. Going slow. Now for the rendering for this, I'm using oh man, I can't even think of the name of it again. The ray tracing render thing. Oh, how embarrassing! I can't even think of the name of the render. Is it down here further? Anyway, I'm not using scanline render. Hold on a second. I'll show you exactly what it is. Shadow map, distributed box. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's almost done. There we go. I'm using I'm just going to hit the F10 key to bring up my renderer, the mental ray renderer. That's what I was trying to say. So I'm using the mental ray renderer in this case. And you can see you got some, oh yeah, look at those reflections there, that nice glassy material. Now you can sort of see why I wanted to have edges on the box, those nice rounded edges, because you get some really cool highlights that are happening there like that, right? Now this is good. I guess what's further to explain? Well, maybe I'll actually show you this. The one light that I've got there, I'm going to select all, hit the Z key to bring them back. Now all these lights, all they are just lights that are on, with the exception of this one. If we go over here, this is the only one actually that uses a shadow, and it's turned on, and it's got ray traced shadows, and that's why you're getting these nice shadows down here. When you're doing this yourself, you can play around. You can choose like area shadows and shadow map and all that. And your mileage may vary. Use what you will. Okay. So I think for the scene, what I'm going to do is that other box, yeah, it's off the scene there. Maybe I'll grab that and just shimmy it over a little ways here. Move it back here. There, that's the one that I want right there. Hit my space bar. Okay. Now when that comes in, no, it's still got to, I think we're going to move this down a little ways as well and over. I'm going to bring up the F12 key. F12 is very handy. It brings in your move and transform type in tool. Not that way. There we go. That's what I want right there. Then you can just sort of drag, click and drag, and work with it a little more interactively. Maybe that's a little more. Let's do it right about there. Okay. So there's the boxes. I got the materials applied. I've got the floor. Yeah, it's looking okay. Next thing I'm going to do is put in some text here. So I'm going to go to my Create box, over to the spline section, and I go down to text. Let's see, what shall I type here? Alan. Sure, why not? I'm going to type Alan there, and I'm going to click anywhere here, zoom in on that. Zoom out. Now you can see, yeah, it's pretty teeny. Whereabouts are we here? Anyway, I have to, oh, okay, so there it is over there. Let me hit the space bar. We'll just sort of move this into our plan here. Ah, yes, it's too high. So now, there we go. We can see it on there now. Okay, so I've got text on there, and first thing I'm going to do is hit the F12 key. I'm going to rotate it. If I hit the E key, that brings up my rotation. Now I want to, no, I don't want to do that way. There we go. So that's the rotation that I want. I want to go 90 degrees. So minus 90, 0, 180. Sure, why not? That works. Now, what I want to do is, in this case, I want to choose a great big beefy font for this because I'm going to show you some stuff in After Effects that is pretty fun as well. So I'm going to choose that. I'm going to bring the size up size, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit bigger, just like that. Now I can see that it's gone into my box there just a little ways, but that's okay. I'm just going to shimmy that over like that, and we'll bring that up there. Now let's see, what's our position? Yeah, that might work okay. And zoom. Yeah, that's probably a little bit high. I want to actually bring it down here a ways just so that I can get a nice reflection on the floor. Okay, so I've got this outline here. The next thing that we want to do, of course, is give it depth. If I were to render this, well, you're not going to see anything because right now it's just a spline. So you click on your Modify tab. There's the text right there. And I'm going to go, actually, let me just, before I do that, Alan 01 extruded. I added that, actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do that. Alan 01 extruded is what I'm going to name this one. I'm going to open up the modifier list and go down to extrude. Nice. As soon as I do that, yeah, that looks like something there. You saw it for a second. Oops. I'm going to do the amount, sort of, and you know what? There's a reason that I'm going to do this. I'm actually going to do it minus instead of plus. Okay, you'll see why I'm doing that in a little bit. So I'm going to do the amount. I'm going to do it minus 117. Do what you will. And I'm going to bring up my material editor here, and I'm just going to put a standard. Well, what colors do we have going on here? Maybe we'll make a nice kind of a, I don't know, what would be a really funny color to put with that? I don't know. Let's just kind of choose one. Actually, you know what? Why don't we do red? Just for fun. A nice deep red. Okay. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to plop it on there. Now, I'm going to render the scene here. And you'll see what happens when the buckets get down here. Obviously, if you have a multi-processor machine, I've only got a two-core processor. It'll sort of do it 2 at a time. It's chugging along. Not a bad speed. I mean, it does it fairly quickly. Okay, you look down here now. You can see some reflections of the text going on here. Which is all fine and dandy. And well, this isn't going to be a perfect scene. If I had my druthers, I'd probably want to play around with the lighting a lot more. It's a little bit hot in the white up here, and you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to change this red just to plain old white. I'll show you why in a jiff. Okay, let's just hit cancel here. Close that. I'm going to change this material to white. Just like so. Okay, we're going to leave it at that. Now, let's pretend that our scene is done, okay? So we're starting off, and the camera just kind of swoops in like this, and you get a bunch of nice movement, and there's, whatever, the title of your show or something like that is there. Alan, the musical, or something like that. You're going to render all this stuff out. Now, in this case, I actually want to render 3 different things. Okay, I want to render the background, and I also want to render my name, and I want to render that as a separate element with an alpha channel, and I'll show you why later. And there's also another thing that I want to render too. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit the F9 key, and I'm going to, oops, I hit cancel there because I forgot to select Alan Extruded, right-click, Properties, Visible to Camera. I do not want it visible to camera, my name, but I do want it visible to reflection and refraction and receive shadows. So I'm going to hit OK there. Now I'm going to hit the F9 key to render this. Now normally in the course of production, you would render this, of course, as a QuickTime or an AVI. You do the entire file. Because you don't want to sit here for an hour and a half while this renders, I'm just going to be doing the rest of the project just on a single frame here. So you should be able to get the gist of what it is that you'd be doing while it's moving. Now, you remember that I turned off the visibility of the title of Alan. Okay, it's gone. You can't see it there. But if you look over here, look at that. There's the N. And if you look down here, yeah, there's a shadow. So all that stuff is still happening. The only thing that we're not seeing is the actual text itself. Okay. So when in the course of your rendering and in the course of your projects, you can often, like if I were doing this in a production environment, I'd probably render these boxes separately as well. It gives you a lot more flexibility later on when you get to After Effects in terms of cutting things out and separate isolating elements and all that. Okay, so I am now going to save this still. Okay, bring up my thing here, max2ae blog post 2. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Sources. New folder, and I'm going to call this DG, which is background. I'm going to save it as a target file in this case. 32, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to save this one as 24-bit because I don't need an alpha channel for this one. Compress, yeah, let's do alpha channel anyway. Pre-multiplied alpha, hit OK. All right, that's saved off. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to, let's see, select my boxes and my ground. Right-click, properties, turn those off so they're not visible to the camera. H key, bring up the first Allen here, right-click, properties. And by the way, you can sometimes, does this work? Right. You can also hold down your Control and your Alt key and right-click, and it'll just go straight to this dialog box so you can check visible to camera. Okay, so I've got Allen there. I'm going to hit F9 now. Oh, don't see any boxes, and we do see the text. Now, in this case, I'm going to play around with the lighting a little bit just for this one because it just looks kind of funny right there. So I'm going to select all, zoom out, and let's see what my multiplier there is pretty low. Whoops. Low, low. I'm just looking for the light here that's really bright. Yeah, there it is there. Okay, so bring that way down. Out. Nah, that wasn't it. Okay, anyway, I could search the lights and I'll find out why it's getting all blown out like that. But yeah, maybe I'd better anyway, just that it'll, I'm just going to sort of lower them all a ways. How about that? Really quickly, just select, lower, select, lower, select, lower. Yeah, we're getting there. Doesn't take too long. Doesn't take too long. There we go. F9. Now, look at that, eh? Now I'm still getting the same thing. A little bit darker, or similar. If we take a look at the alpha channel, okay, it's got alpha. This is close enough. That'll do the trick for what we want to do here. I'm going to save this as text.tga. 32-bit, that means it's got an alpha channel. Compressed, pre-multiplied. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to do is watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go to select my text, and I'm going to change the amount. Down. We're going to make this really small, -1. Now basically what we've got is just the front face of the text right here, okay? And I'm going to render that one, whoops, F9. Okay, and we've just got the text here now, okay? So, I was going to save that. I forgot to do that. Render it again. I'm going to call this one text mask. Okay, so now we're going to go over to After Effects. But before we do that, we've got one more thing that we're going to do in max2ae here. I'm going to go to my Create thing here, my Create tab, and I'm going to click on my primitives here. I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to look way down, way down, way down. Oh, what's that? There's something different. max2ae. I'm going to select that and go to my helper layer first because that's the only option they have there. As soon as you click on that, there, you got a whole bunch more options there. Now, first thing you got to do when you're using max2ae in the course of your Max and After Effects production work is you've got to create a helper layer. There has to be a point of reference in 3D Studio Max that max2ae can use to establish where everything is, where the camera is, where the objects are, and everything like that. Okay, so I've created that. Now I'm going to actually select my boxes just that I can see a little better what I'm doing. Hit the Z key to zoom in. Okay, so I've got max2ae selected. I'm going to go to my front. Yeah, sure, why not? I'm just going to click and drag there. Okay. Now just sort of do it quick. Doesn't matter right now exactly where it is. You can see that they're just a little flat. It's like a plane that got created, right? Whoops. There we go. Now, what I want to do is, because I said that I wanted to map a material onto the front of this this glassy box here. Now, I could do that in 3D Studio Max. All right, I could create an object or a material here that uses video, and then I could put that object just on this one face, and I could render it out, and okay, that's fine. It'll look whatever. It'll look like it looks like. But there are a couple of downsides. One, what happens when your client says, yeah, that's a nice picture of a Twinkie on there, but I'd rather have a donut. Then you got to go back to 3D Studio, You got to render the thing out again. You got to change the material. You got to render. You got to bring it into After Effects. You got to replace and all this kind of stuff. And then they say, I don't want a chocolate dip donut. I want a honey dip donut. You got to do it all again. Okay, we're going to do this so that you can do it all in After Effects instead of in 3D Studio Max. Now, the other reason that you want to do stuff like this will become apparent when I do the After Effects part of things, and that is that you can use transfer modes in After Effects. And I guess I shouldn't say you can't, but I don't know how to use transfer modes on materials in 3D Studio Max. Okay, so we're going to get to that in a jiff. But in the meantime, what we want to do is we want to make this plane that we've got here map exactly onto the surface of this box right here, because I want it to be right here. Okay, so first off, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this, once we created it, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to click on my Align button up here. Just click on that once. I'm going to click on this box. Okay, align selection, which is the max2ae helper, to box 02, which is this box right here. Now, I'm going to start selecting stuff here. X, Y, Z. Where the heck did it go? Let's take a look at, oh, no, I can't do that. It's actually in the middle of the box right now. Okay, it's aligned itself to the center of this box. I want this to be minimum. Okay, you can see it looks all funny here right now. Yeah, because right now Max is trying to decide whether the box or the helper layer should be out in the front. Okay, so I'm just going to put it at minimum. If it's in the center, it's way in the center of the object. And hit OK. Okay, I'm just going to close my material editor there. Now all I got to do is kind of shimmy this along here, shimmy this up here. Got to make the size, make that a little bit smaller, make that a little bit smaller. And actually, the size stuff doesn't really matter once we get into After Effects. I'll show you why. I just want to position it so it looks nice here. Okay, there we go. So I know that this helper layer that I created, the max2ae helper layer, is exactly in the front of this box right here. Okay, that's good. That's where I want it to be. Now the next thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to go down to the bottom of the max2ae thing. Now this is where all the magic happens. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. If I wanted to, I could export the camera on its own. Okay, I could bring up the export camera dialog box. I could do all this stuff, send it to clipboard, and then I could just paste it into After Effects. But in this case, I want to move all the lights over as well, plus the helper layer, plus the camera. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is actually export the scene. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to open that up. And I'm going to go to, where are we here? Blog, max2ae blog post 2, sources, and I'm going to call this max2ae 01. You see, I always like putting 01s at the end of all my stuff. I have so many 01s on my hard drive, it's not funny. Okay, so it hasn't saved anything yet. I've just told it what it's going to save it as. I'm going to tell what I want the After Effects comp name to be, and we'll go, let's call this Alan's scene. Why not? Call it what you will. So start frame, end frame, all this stuff should be, this is probably what you're going to see there. Now the important thing here is this little button right here. Okay, maintain hierarchy. I don't know, maybe you don't know what a hierarchy is, and if you did, would you want to maintain it? But basically what it means is, if you've got objects in your scene that are parented to something else, you want to maintain that parenting. Okay, for instance, we've got lights here. Well, you can't see them over here, but the lights are parented to the to these dummies right here. If we did not have maintain hierarchy on, when we brought this into After Effects, the lights would not move. Basically, what maintain hierarchy is saying is you're telling max2ae to use the parented motion. Okay, so in this case, I do have stuff that's parented, so I want to make sure that maintain hierarchy is checked. Okay, so that's there. Target, camera 01, After Effects version 7 dot whatever. D1 is 72046, pick point number. Yeah, looks good. Hit the export to file button, and there we go. So, over to After Effects now. A bunch of different ways you can import in After Effects. I don't know if you knew all these, but File, Import, File is one. Look, a keyboard shortcut. Control-I, that'll bring it up as well. My favorite way is just to go over to the project window and double-click, because when you double-click, it opens up your box here, your import dialog box. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is import all these renders that I did here, background, text, and text mask. Now I rendered them all in this case with pre-multiplied alpha. I'm just going to bring them in, okay. And the next thing I want to do is go. Now when you install the max2ae plugin, you get in your scripts folder something called blif export and blif import, okay. So in these cases, the blif import is what we want because that's, what was it, Boomer Lab Interchange Format, I believe is what it stands for. Boomer Lab Interchange Format Import, that's what we want to do. So I'm going to click on that. Pretty small little dialog box that you got to work with. First thing you want to choose is blog to select the file that you want to import. Okay, that was the one that we just got out of After Effects. Import, you know what? I don't know if I've ever even actually used these two. I mean, they're pretty obvious what they do. Import different layers as compositions instead of one composition. Only overwrite selected layers. Okay, there you go. I guess that would be if you have multiple, you're bringing in changes and stuff like that. I usually just leave it as it is, okay, and I'm going to hit the Go button and see what happens. All right, so we got something called Alan Scene. Open that up, and, oh, look. There we go. That's our little helper layer. Let me just zoom out here so we can see. I'm going to click and drag. Ah, yes, that sort of looks like the kind of camera move that we want. Let's go back here and see if it matches up. Start there. There's the helper layer. Oh yeah, looking good. Right. So what we've done is we've gotten our the camera movement. Well, let's go here. Camera movement. We've got the helper layer that we put there. We've got spot 1. That has the shadow, spot 2, spot 3, spot 4, spot 5, spot 6. Holy crow, it brought it all in. If I select it all, maximize this window by hitting the tilde key and hit the U key, that'll bring up all your keyframes. And you can see there are, yeah, look at that, a lot of keyframes. Orientation. Remember I was talking about the lights, right? There's your position. They rotate as they go. Close that up. Going to minimize that again. All right. So now we've got this. What are we going to do here? Let's see, I guess. Oh, that's right, because it would have opened a different project. Now I'm going to bring in my items again. I believe when I did the import that it creates a new project. Okay, so I'm just going to hit OK. All pre-multiplied, pre-multiplied, pre-multiplied. There we go. Now this is going to start making a little more sense once we start dragging these down. I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit. Can't quite see it all, but that's okay. That'll do the trick. All right, background. There we go. Now remember, I didn't render the entire animation. I only rendered the final frame. You can see that as we move, so the last frame, which is the one that we were playing with, that's the one where everything is going to properly line up. Obviously, if this were an animation, this background, then it would be traveling perfectly with everything that's going on here. Let's just move there to the end. Yeah, you can see that the face of our object is lined up there perfectly. Just for kicks, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, well, let's do everything else here first. Let's move the text in here. Okay, we want the text to be on top of the background, and move the text mask, and we'll put that above the text. Now, you can start getting a little bit of an idea why I was saying that you want to render all this stuff as disparate elements. You want to render them as different elements, because when I brought in the text, I applied a white material to it, and well, you can't see it because the background is white as well. But let me just grab this helper layer here and move it back there. What you can do is I'm going to select my text here, and I'm going to go Effect, Stylize, there we go, Glow. Now I don't want to do a glow in the color channels, I want to do it in the alpha channels. Oh, you can start to see something coming there. Change this to normal, A and B colors, and change this one to black as well. Now you can see it, all right? Now we wouldn't be able to do this if the text here was rendered on the with the boxes. We wouldn't be able to isolate this text here to do what we just did. Okay, I'm just gonna, yeah, sure, let's just make that a little bit bigger. I don't know. Play around with it as you will, do what you will, but this is just to give you an idea that you can do this, right? All right, so we've done that. Now the next thing we want to do is what do we want to do? Okay, let's take my helper layer here. You can see we've got lights that are up there, but well, they're not positioned right. We don't have any lights on here. I'm actually going to open this up, go to my material options, and I'm going to tell this layer to disregard all the lights in the scene. Okay, I'm going to go to accept lights. It's on right now. No, turn them off. Okay, so there we go. Now, the reason that I'm going to do that is because, go back to my project here. I'm going to import some video footage. Let's see, maybe go to, see, pre-pro video. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to bring, this is some of my wedding footage here when I got married. Let's see, which one do we want to do? Yeah, let's do that one right there. Okay, so now you can start getting an idea of why we did this little helper layer thing. Because remember, this helper layer, it's not a render, okay? This is an actual, it's like an item in After Effects 3D space. And that means that we can replace this item with other things, okay? In this case, why not? Why don't we replace it with this footage here? Now, there's I don't even know how you do this without the keyboard shortcut, but when you've got a layer selected in your timeline, you click on an item in the project window. As you're moving it, it changes into a plus there. You can see the little plus. If you hold down your Alt key, okay, it replaces whatever was selected in the timeline with the object that you dragged over. Look at that. We got some video on that. That looks really cool. Replaces it just like so. But it keeps all the transformations and everything. It keeps all the keyframes. It keeps all the effects. It keeps all the everything that layer had before you dragged this thing onto it. Okay. So I'm going to hit the S key to bring up the scale. Make that bigger. Now the reason that I want to make this bigger than my box here is because you can see there's just some video scunge along the edge there. There's that black line that we've got. It's going to do that a little bit. And I want to get rid of that. I'm going to mask that out. Okay. Now there are a couple other reasons that I want to do this as well, but okay, I'm just going to kind of do that. Double click on the mask just so that I can position it just so. Yeah, sure. Just like that. Why not, eh? I'm going to turn off my mask visibility there so you can see that once you do this, you can now hit the F key. It'll bring up mask feather. And you can just give it a really nice little soft edge there. You can see what I was doing there, eh? That's at 0. You can see you've got hard edges. You bring it up to about 60 or so. Yeah, look at that. It just kind of goes in there. Looking pretty good. Now comes the magic of After Effects. As far as I know, you cannot do what I'm going to do next in 3D Studio Max, and that is right over here, transfer modes. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can do transfer modes. You can click on it, you can go up to a transfer mode and select it, and it's going to happen. Now, the trouble with transfer modes is that you probably, well, eventually you get an idea, but you're never going to quite know how they're going to work with the footage that you're using, especially when you're doing a bunch of different transfer modes on a bunch of different layers. So it's worthwhile to learn the keyboard shortcut to cycle through all these transfer modes. And that keyboard shortcut is, once you've got a layer selected, hold down the Shift key and hit the plus or minus sign, not on your number keypad, okay, not on the one that has, you know, the numbers on the right there. You want to do it on the alpha keypad, the letters keypad. It'll probably also say minus and equals on it, okay? So if you do the equals or the plus, you can see, look at that. I'm cycling through all the things. Ah, there we go. That's interesting looking there. That's the add transfer mode. Okay, that one looks pretty good as well. Screen, okay. So you can play around with this until you get something that you liked. I think of all of them. I don't know, luminosity is always a fun one. Yeah, there we go. That's perfect. So now it looks like the item that we have was rendered in 3D Studio Max. It wasn't. It's here. And if we wanted to, when our client is over our shoulder, you can select that and you go, well, we could have that one, or we could have that one, or we could have that one, all right? It's now as quick as that by clicking, dragging, Alt, and letting go to try experiment, put in different footage items on here. How cool is that? All right, so back to 3D Studio Max here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create another helper layer. Where are we here? Launch. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to reuse this one. Okay, so I'm going to hit F12 to bring up my rotation here. E. I'm going to go 0. No, I didn't want to do that. Not that one. Not that one. Right, that's the one that I want. Just like that. Now again, I'm going to do align. And I'm going to click on my text in this case. X, Y, Z. And in this case, I do want it to be center. Okay, just like that. And I'm going to hit OK. Now, at this point, I am not going to do my scene I/O, that's input-output, because I've already got all the scene. All I need is that one layer right there, okay? So I'm just going to click on Export Layer like that. Brings up all the usual things there that we were looking at in the other one: position, orientation, hierarchy, yes, 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 yes. Make sure that all this stuff is the same as the other one. And I'm going to send it to the clipboard, just like that. Now when I go back to After Effects, what I'm going to do is go up to Edit. Sorry, I'm just going to, in this case, first off, I'm going to do is do a solid here, make it into a 3D layer, just like that. Go to the front, okay, it's way over there, and paste. There we go. Now when I move here, just like that, we'll go back to our last frame, and you can see, yeah, well, look at that. That solid that we had there, that solid that I created, is now right over a text. Okay, but what are we going to do with that? Okay, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to move this smooch here. I'm going to drop it on there just like that. I'm going to scale it up. I mean, you can do this with any footage, of course, just like that. And I'm going to take that and move it down to above all of our text stuff, but below text mask. Yeah, I bet you know what I'm going to do now, don't you? Turn on text mask. I'm now going to select that layer there. I'm going to hit the F4 key to bring up my transfer modes, or to bring up my track mat, and I'm going to do alpha mat of text mask.tga. And look at that. Now I've got, where are we here? We've got that footage masked on the front of our text. Now, I mean, this is kind of hard to see. You can see why I wanted to use a big chunky font here, because now you can sort of see what's going on there. But I don't know. There you go. You get the idea. So now, of course, if this were a full rendered animation, then this footage that you're looking at right here is going to map perfectly onto the front of all of this object. Now, yeah, you could do this in 3D Studio Max, but again, why not do it in After Effects if you can? It's a lot quicker to render all this stuff and to make changes if it's in After Effects, right? So there you go. All right, so that is my tutorial for the day using the max2ae plugin. There we go, right there, which you can get from Boomer Labs, boomerlabs.com. I find in the course of my work, I mean, I can't really get by without it now, right? Because I can design a lot of stuff in 3D Studio Max, including, by the way, creating all your camera movements in 3D Studio Max and then importing them into After Effects. If you're not comfortable with the way that you animate the camera in After Effects, do it in 3D Studio Max. Bring it over that way. You know, it's different way to create things. And more. I mean, it's a great little plugin. I use it all the time, and probably daily in the course of my work. So, my name again is Alan Szyszko. I'm a motion graphics designer, and I do hope that this tutorial was informative, instructional, and maybe even a little bit entertaining. All right, talk to you next time.